Sport on 4 with Stepstone Online Recruitment. Your first step to success in your career, your life, your future.
Rockingham, a brand new oval racetrack built with American-style racing in mind. And this is a view you very rarely get in British motorsport, because from up here you can see virtually the whole track, because this place has been built with spectators in mind right from the very beginning. But this is Motorsport on 4, and we're here for the British Formula 3 and GT Championships. And whilst they're not running on the full oval, they're going to be running on the infield track that runs through the middle. So before we get on with the races, let's take a quick look at how Rockingham came into existence.
The Rockingham project was conceived nearly 10 years ago as a test facility for the many American racing cars that are built in Britain. But soon the project developed into Britain's first banked race circuit since Brooklands, designed to host American oval racing, but also incorporating a variety of European-style road courses. Though planning permission was granted in 1993, earth-moving didn't start until 2 years ago. The banks around the circuit have been designed to minimise the noise impact on the surrounding area. Laying the tarmac took 15 weeks and has left a surface smooth enough for the ultra-high speeds expected in the Champ Car racing scheduled for September. ASCAR, Britain's version of American saloon car racing, has been created to reproduce the American experience. The first teams ran into engine problems that restricted their run to a demonstration, but the drivers came away profoundly impressed. Nigel Mansell was present at the first meeting to demonstrate a Champ Car, the latest version of the type of car he took to the '93 title. The banked oval is 1.5 miles long and 60 feet wide, with the banking varying from 3.1 to 7.9 degrees. It may look uniform, but all 4 corners are different. Nigel set a new British closed circuit record of 163 miles an hour, eclipsing Keke Rosberg's 160 mile an hour mark set at the old Silverstone.
Here we are at Rockingham's Turn 1 with Mike Jordan, the Lister driver, but he's had some previous experience of this track. Mike, you drove in the very first race here in the ASCARs round the complete oval. What was that like?
Yeah, well, it was only a demonstration event, wasn't it? So we weren't running at full speed, but it's a very, very busy lap. I came here, I mean, I've driven in a couple of ovals in the States, and I thought it would be a bit easier than it was. I mean, overall, I think once the whole place is up to speed, the oval here will be an amazing place to be racing on. Obviously very high speeds in that around the full circuit, but now we're on the road course. How, using the banking here, does that affect the road course? Well, obviously they've had to do what they do with most combined ovals and road courses in the States, which is use a little bit of the banking. You know, back in the distance there, we use Turn 4, which is going to be a flat-out blinding our sort of cars around there and hold on. The big difference, I suppose, is this natural little chicane we've got here, which really in my car's not too good. Watching some of the GTO cars the other day, they're airborne over the curb, and I should think mid-corner they're probably a little bit faster than we'll be through there, but then it's back up onto the banking and then a hairpin down just before Turn 2 onto the infield. So some very different requirements for the driver. There's the sort of flat-out lazy man's driving around the oval, then all very busy through this first corner. Yeah, indeed, and I mean the whole of the infield is a very busy infield to me. They've compacted a lot of corners in there, so I find it a very, very busy little lap in there. Thanks very much. Now let's take a complete lap in car of the road course. We're looking over the shoulder of Mark Bales, scholarship class winner up at Croft last time out, as he completes a qualifying lap at Rockingham. This first chicane is very fast in a Formula 3 car. Speed through the corner is 120 miles an hour in top gear. Down to the first tight corner though, and it's a third gear, hard on the brakes. Very good opportunity to overtake if you've had a good run through the chicane. Feeding the power on the exit. Mark's got a good exit up to the first right-hander. This circuit works both left and right tyres very hard indeed. Over the crest, a little bit of a right-hand corner, coming up to a chicane. The Formula 3 cars can't really use the curbs here, but we certainly do in the GTs, using as much road and more as possible. Down to this double left-hander, missed the first apex, clipped the second for a good exit, third gear again, up into fourth,
and unusually there's a little bit of a gradient here, so there's a good feeling of up and down. Fourth gear, left-hand bend, feeding the power on. Difficult corner in a GT, but very easy in a Formula 3 car. Down to this second gear, right-hand hairpin. Good exit there, past the old pits, running out wide. It looks like you're about to enter the pits, but he's carrying his speed down to this next right-hander, which is a fourth gear, quite quick corner, with no run-off at all on the exit, and down to the final infield corner, which is a tight left-hand hairpin. The Formula 3 cars are using maximum downforce on this circuit, so despite their speed on the oval, which is only about 140 miles an hour, maybe 145, the GTs are pulling 165 to 170, but the Formula 3s are much quicker through the infield. So what were the drivers' reactions to finding their way round a brand new circuit?
Well, it's a fantastic circuit. I think it's an awesome circuit, fantastic concept, and I think it's fantastic for the spectators.
The banking is just awesome. You know, not a lot of grip, but yeah, good, challenging.
I don't know, as good as anyone I've seen in the States.
To go onto the oval, first lap round, I came on the radio, I'm an Indy car driver.
As if learning a new circuit wasn't hard enough, the weather for qualifying contrived to make life even more difficult. After 5 minutes of light drizzle, the track began to dry out, so all the quick times came in the last few minutes. By that stage, Gianmaria Bruni had spun off and damaged his engine, and Nicolas Kiesa had stopped with a failed differential. With only 30 drivers allowed to start, neither was quick enough to make the cut. Another to suffer was Jaguar driver André Lotterer. He was on pole when he overshot the first hairpin and stalled the engine trying to spin turn. A few minutes later, he was back in 10th.
Unfortunately, I stalled it, and the car doesn't start anymore when you don't have an extra battery, so I was waiting there, so bad luck.
Derek Hayes made it 3 in a row with another brilliant pole position.
Very happy to put it in pole. Had to really commit in the last lap though. I was pushing more than I probably wanted to push through the first corner, but pole's where I want to be starting from, so I have to do it, and that's that.
Behind him, the Carlin twins, with Sato in second and Davidson third, fresh from his great win at Pau against the cream of the European F3 drivers.
There's not many people can win at Pau on the first time out, so for the team and myself, it's a great achievement. It's a fantastic atmosphere, and all the best drivers from around the world are there, all the best teams, so we did a fantastic job.
Mark Taylor was another happy man. His 4th place was 9 better than his average so far this year.
Well, we've not actually spoken to you before, because this is actually your best qualifying so far.
Very happy. I wasn't actually getting time, so I had no idea what times I was doing, and I was just trying to push as hard as possible. I'm just absolutely delighted with it. I can't believe it.
So no surprises in the top 3 places, but good performances from Mark Taylor, Milos Pavlovic and Andy Priaulx, 4th, 5th and 6th. James Courtney posted exactly the same time as Priaulx, but was 7th as Andy did it first.
In the scholarship class, Inani Judis took his 2nd pole position ahead of Robert Doornbos, and series leader Matthew Gilmore. Croft winner Robbie Kerr was in 4th.
So it might be a new circuit, but there are still familiar faces on the front row of the grid. Takuma Sato starting in 2nd position and Derek Hayes over in pole. And will this be 3rd time lucky for Derek to convert his pole position into a maiden victory? Two men have the answers, Martin and Ben.
Thanks, Amanda. There's a great feeling of expectation in the air as Powertour visits a new circuit. And we've got some hardy spectators who brave the cold and damp. They'll be able to see everything that happens here.
Waiting for the lights then. Derek Hayes on pole, dreadful start. Sato quickly away, so is Davidson. But look in the middle of the picture, Andy Priaulx goes from the outside to the inside, and he may well be shooting for the lead as they come into the first corner. There he is, drops into second, ahead of Mark Taylor, up from fourth on the grid. Takuma Sato leads. Slippery and cold conditions wouldn't have helped them get away from the start. Hayes, the poleman, in fourth. Davidson in fifth, and Bruce Giuani just managing to squeeze through into that first hairpin, and it's a very narrow hairpin, Ben, to squeeze everybody in.
Yeah, but isn't this fun? We get a chance to see where the major overtaking opportunities lie. Enani Judis, that is. I think he just got a little bit of a tag from somebody. That pushed him onto the dirt. The conditions are very tricky. It is very greasy at the moment.
There's Robbie Kerr, the scholarship class leader. A couple of cars ahead of him, Ben Collins returning for a one-off drive. The car that Tim Spouge vacated. Looking down the inside, there's Ben in the number 19 machine. And in the pits as well, we've got the two non-starters, Bruni and Kiesa, hoping for a red flag that somebody's car won't make the restart and they may get a run.
Takuma Sato's driving beautifully once again. Now, we've seen him race hard already this year, and he's showing his class. He's just come out of that final hairpin. He's on through the banking. Such a new experience for these drivers to go through banking at high speed, something completely different for drivers in the British Formula 3 Championship.
Well, of course, these are commonplace in America. They're called rovals, road course stroke oval, and they use the banking. Really gives a great opportunity for lining up cars to pass, and that braking area for the chicane, oh, goodness me! Ironically, American Jeffrey Jones goes off there. There's his teammate Derek Hayes. He's got Anthony Davidson right behind. Davidson finding this very different going, I'm sure, from Warnock, where he raced and won on the streets. And Mark Mayle, further back in the scholarship class battle. Still very tight, Ben, side by side there off the banking.
Yeah, it's good racing, and it shows that that is an opportunity to overtake here at Rockingham, down off the banking and into the first hairpin. Look at the lead that Sato has pulled out over Andy Priaulx, though. Mark Taylor running very well in third. We haven't seen Taylor running this well this season.
Further back with a damaged wing, there's Jeffrey Jones. Surely he should be easy pickings for the Jaguar. André Lotterer making a bit of a meal of this. Maybe in the tight, twisty stuff, that won't count too much against him, but that'll understeer up towards the wall once he hits speed on the banking.
On board with Bruce Giuani, running in 8th place, and the two cars ahead of him and running wide. That is Jeffrey Jones. Without that front wing, there's no front downforce, and the car runs wide.
Well, Bruce Giuani being passed there by James Courtney in the second Jaguar, so he momentarily picked up a place as he passed the stricken Jones and then lost it immediately. Courtney making a good move down the inside, and now down the back straight, he's already away from Giuani, and Giuani under threat again. Mark Mayle behind.
Oh, and he's just been passed by Matt Davis, a double race winner this year, of course, Matt Davis, but he's languishing amongst the scholarship cars. Now look at this, Mark's coming back at him as they approach the right-hander down the inside, and Mayle gets the place back.
Yeah, great stuff by the Diamond Racing driver. The Allen Docking crew are waiting for their men to come by, and of course, it's Takuma Sato who leads the race. Docking's man in second place, Mark Taylor in third, Derek Hayes still holding on from Anthony Davidson in fourth place. But it looks as though Davidson's got a much quicker car. Hayes is fighting a rear guard action, Ben, and Davidson will need to make a move soon before that initiative goes away from him.
Davidson's confidence so high after that win at Po, and now just looking for any opportunity to slip past Derek Hayes, but we know Hayes is a hard racer himself. He's not going to leave the door open and leave an opportunity that Davidson can take easily. Now, Mark Taylor was wide there. We go on board with him, and indeed he has been passed by Hayes.
Of course, it's just mud around the side of the circuit, but if it was grass, it wouldn't make much difference. If you slide over the curbs, your wheels spin up, and this, right ahead of him, Davidson goes off and kicks up the dirt as well. Big flick from the tail of the Carlin Motorsport car, and that'll be the end of our camera shots, I think, from Mark Taylor's viewpoint. His visor probably covered in that wet mud as well. Look at this, Hayes still weaving down the straight, though he knows that Davidson is quicker.
Yeah, you can really see there how Mark Taylor made a mistake initially, ran wide, and that cost him speed. Derek Hayes took advantage of it. So did Anthony Davidson, despite Mark Taylor trying to shut the door a bit too late. And then Davidson, because he went in tight, ran a bit wide himself on the exit.
And that's dropped him back behind Derek Hayes onto the banking, where surely he should have the best advantage. He's not close enough to take a position there, but Mark Taylor loses one. André Lotterer, well, he's learned his position, having lost pole in qualifying by overshooting that hairpin and stalling as he tried to spin. He's really got it sorted out, and Davidson still pressing home his advantage. But I think his teammate Takuma Sato now is taking benefit from this, Ben, really romping away.
He is, but Anthony Davidson has to watch out for André Lotterer. Lotterer is not at a disadvantage at this track. For once, they all come not knowing this place, so I think he's enjoying that fact.
And he's up running in 5th position, so one of his strongest showings of the year so far. Sato out front. He's got Andy Priaulx for close company, so he'll be watching his mirrors as they straighten up along the banking. Derek Hayes, well, he's the man under pressure, isn't he? Oh, but Sato showing the pressure, Ben. Well, we saw him force an error at Croft out of Hayes, but it looks as though Priaulx's forced one out of Sato there. The Japanese lucky to hold on.
We're on board with André Lotterer now chasing Anthony Davidson as they come down to that first hairpin. Not quite close enough to make the move that he put on Mark Taylor a lap or so ago, but he is right in position to try and pass Davidson.
Well, Lotterer really is in the driving seat in this trio. No one to worry about behind, and he can pick and choose where he wants to make his move. Jamie Spence looks down the inside of Jeffrey Jones. Jones continuing with that damaged front wing and loses 3, 4, 5 places there. Well, this is the battle from 10th to 16th. Spence under pressure from Paul Edwards and Rob Austin.
Battle for 3rd place coming into the second infield hairpin. And there we are, André Lotterer still keeping the pressure on Anthony Davidson. Something's happened behind Mark Taylor. There's been contact between Taylor and James Courtney. Oh, and he stalled it as well.
Next man up, Bruce Joanny, about to take 7th place. Taylor on the outside. Let's have another look at how that one happened.
Well, this was Mark Taylor coming into the hairpin on the wide outside line. Here comes James Courtney. It's a lunge from behind, and he's not quite there. He makes contact with the rear wheel of Mark Taylor's car. Taylor is the one that pays the penalty, unfortunately, and then, of course, he stalled it.
Flat out through turn 4. Yes, no lift at all from André Lotterer. Hard up against the wall and then down off the banking into this little chicane. Oh, goodness me. Anthony Davidson staring at the sky there for a moment. No wonder he had a big lift. André Lotterer breezes by. Ben, they really have to be careful there at those curves. But look at that. Davidson back inside. He may have been momentarily put off, but it didn't put him off his stroke that much, did it?
No, that was great comeback from Davidson. He'd made the mistake, we saw that, but he made up for it at the next corner. Look at that! Wow!
Matt Davis again looking at the clouds. What a scary shot that was. Davis almost taking off, Ben.
Well, we heard from Tim Harvey, it's a very fast corner in the F3 cars, and if you hit that curve slightly differently, it just picks the front end of the car up, and that's what's happened to several drivers here today.
Well, Takuma Sato's scare there wasn't quite as large as that, and it didn't put him off his stroke at all. He's managed to keep his advantage stationary around 2 seconds over Andy Priaulx, but Priaulx's dropped back in the last couple of laps, and Sato motors onto the checkered flag. The first win on the Rockingham Roval for the Japanese. A great drive, a convincing victory.
In the scholarship pass, Robbie Kerr in 13th place overall, behind Rob Austin's pale blue car, taking the victory.
So Sato wins by 3 seconds from Priaulx, Hayes, Davidson, and the Jaguar pair, Lotterer and Courtney, in the points.
In scholarship, Kerr wins again for the 5th time from Blair, Gearhan, Judith, Doornbos and Hoshino.
Well, Takuma, many congratulations from all of your teammates there. Obviously, they're as delighted as you are about your victory. How was it?
That's, I think, pretty difficult condition for everybody. Dump and through the chicane, even me made a mistake once. It was quite hard, but very interesting. You know, good feeling. Especially, I made a good start. It just less wheel spinning, and I knew the Priaulx would come in a class because he was quite good on the wet setup.
Let's look again at that start. We've ringed Andy Priaulx on the 3rd row. Watch him get away and dropping down from pole position. Derek Hayes doesn't get away well, moves up, but it's all too late. Priaulx's down the inside.
You know, I was pleased with 2nd, and going to the next race, just trying to score some points again.
Welcome back to Motorsport on 4 and qualifying for round 12 of the Green Flag British F3 Championship. With the weather still cold and damp at Rockingham, Anthony Davidson showed his class, topping the timesheets for practically the whole session. Takuma Sato joined him on the front row at the last minute ahead of Jaguar pair André Lotterer 3rd and James Courtney in 5th.
Yeah, we had a bit of a drama all the way through. It was quite good when we went out on the old tyres to start with. Came in, changed the new tyres, went out and hit a rabbit, and I thought maybe I'd broken something, so I came into the pits and the guys checked it all out. worked out nothing was wrong, and then I went out and I just had loads and loads of traffic right till the end, and managed to get a lap in right at the end, which was good. For me, anyway, better than starting 15.
Splitting the Jaguar drivers, Milos Pavlovic, one place better than in the first race.
We are improving all the times, and now we managed to get 3 good qualifiers in succession, so I hope to keep the good luck going on.
Derek Hayes, meanwhile, was having a nightmare, languishing out of the top 10.
Excuses, didn't do good enough. Nearly had a monster off at the first chicane. The car sort of like got underneath the car and sort of nearly flipped me upside down. So I was quite lucky with that one. But you know, the races just have to make up for it now.
Davidson's pole time was 0.3 better than Sato's best. Lotterer was another 10th slower, and the next 3 nearly half a second further back. Nicolas Kiesa in 6th, happy to be racing at all.
Robbie Kerr resumed his normal place on pole for the scholarship classes, 9th of the year, with Judas down to 2nd, Gilmore again in 3rd.
Anthony Davidson made a shocking start in the first race here. This time he starts from pole position, and let's see if he can capitalise on it. This start is made even more difficult by the fact that this start straight is even banked at 4 degrees, so it's a lot like Brands Hatch. It's over to Martin and Ben.
Broken cloud and the chance of rain to greet the drivers for the second race.
But sunshine on the grid and everybody on slicks waiting for the lights, and all Carlin front row now. Who will make the demon start this time? Well, following Andy Priaulx's lead, look at them all drop down there. Pavlovic, the orange car, Kiesa, the blue car, trying to get in between the Jaguar drivers, but being held off by the green and white cars on the inside. And it looked as though Sato might have got the lead from Davidson. I think he has. Then down to the first hairpin. Look, they're all fanning out. This could be an eyes-shut situation.
It could indeed, but you're right. Takuma Sato got ahead. Look at the midfield trying to get through that hairpin. Oh, and that's Lotterer, who's gone wide, right onto the dirt. Gets back on, and amazingly, he hasn't lost a place.
Further back with Mark Mail, there's Matt Gilmore behind, and Rob Austin down the inside, trying to take everybody at one corner bend. Never works when they're that tight.
No, he's a little over-optimistic, I would say. That's good. Mark Mail's got going, but look, that's Gianmaria Bruni also spun there. And let's take another look at what happened from Mark Taylor's viewpoint. Through the hairpin, very crowded. Bruni just ahead of us there on the left. That's the blue and yellow car. Comes across, tries to defend the line into the right-hander. Oh, and Taylor just taps him. Almost couldn't avoid that because of the way Bruni came across. Bruni suffered with the spin.
Derek Hayes there in 6th position. Teammate Jeffrey Jones, the other white car, right behind him. Then Nicolas Kiesa, the Dane. Oh, and Jamie Spence has lost it. May well have spun there across the grass. Just missed by Katsumata. He's in the gravel. And there's Kazuki Hoshino. Looks like he got caught up in that one as well.
The safety car is out. 2 cars in dangerous places. And Jamie Spence contemplates a poor season which started with such promise. Pole position in round 1. His car is rolled away to safety. Let's see what happened to Hoshino. Rob Austin right behind him, and it's Austin that hits the back of Hoshino's car as they come through that hairpin, and Austin losing a nose wing as a result.
So the Carlin pair leading. The championship boys faring better than their scholarship class teammate as they get the green flag once more. Sato leads Davidson, then Jaguar drivers Lotterer and Courtney, the Yugoslav Pavlovic, the orange car in 5th place as they file through. And there is Paul Edwards missing the chicane. Oh, and Robbie Kerr flying over the curbs there. That looked even bigger than Sato's squiggly moment. Rob Austin into the pits for a new nose. And that's the legacy of that incident where we saw him spin Kazuki Hoshino. Jeffrey Jones now ahead of Derek Hayes. The pale blue wings on his car marking him out ahead of his teammate. And there is Mark Taylor. Another mistake by Taylor. That's a long way off into the dirt. And then he may not recover from that one. Looks like the end of the race for the 3rd Manor Motorsport car. His teammates still following the top 5. That's Jeffrey Jones, the white and blue car, and then Derek Hayes. And the 2 white cars further back, Andy Priaulx and Paul Edwards. So Edwards gaining no advantage by missing the chicane, so he'll be allowed to continue racing.
On board Mark Taylor, let's see what happened to him. We've got a good view as we're heading down towards the right-hander behind the pits pretty much. He's coming into the corner, a little bit of sideways. Oh, and he just basically makes a mistake there. Perhaps came in a little bit too quickly. Oh, and someone's in the wall.
Yes, that's the American driver Paul Edwards. The docking racing car seems to have just washed out up into the concrete on the outside. That'll be a pretty big impact for him. And into the pits comes Nicolas Kiesa. The team have lost Ryan Diel, who's walked away from them before the weekend. Kiesa didn't start race 1 and now retired.
He was missing an end plate on that front wing. Let's see what happened. Oh, he went through the chicane, hit that curve. Might have happened there. Here's another one through the chicane. This is Bruce Giuani. Oh, take off for him as well. Did you see the front of the car come up? And another one, look at that, that's Ben Collins, really taking off through there.
Gianmaria Bruni retiring in the pit lane as well. Another tough weekend for the Italian driver. And here is Mark Mayle inside Partiva Sureshwar and the Indian driver. That's a good move. Mayle takes 7th away from him in the scholarship class and starts to move away. Takuma Sato moving away from Anthony Davidson right through to the checkered flag. More jubilation for the Carlin Motorsport team. 1-2 here at Rockingham.
Trevor. Well, he's done it again.
I know, it's fantastic. Fantastic team. 1-2. It's brilliant.
Now, Anthony again didn't make a very good start.
At that time, he made a brilliant start and missed his gear shift from first to second. So, you know, but I'm happy. What more can you say? It's fantastic.
Well done.
Do I get my kiss now?
Kisses all round. Sato and Davidson winning from the Jaguar pair, Lotterer and Courtney. Pavlovich a fine 5th ahead of Jeffrey Jones.
In scholarship, Kerr makes it 6 wins now, ahead of Kierhan, Blair and Gilmore, Judith and Doornbos.
2 race wins this weekend. You're now actually the dominant driver that we all expected you to be at the beginning of the season.
Wow, isn't it? But yes, it's an excellent feeling. I think this is perfect team win, team job. Anthony got, you know, second, me first, third. Perfect.
Takuma now has a 49-point lead over Derek Hayes, with Andy Priaulx 16 further back, but clear of the tight 4-way squabble behind.
It's even tighter at the top of the scholarship class, a 3-way tie between Gilmore, Kierhan and the resurgent Robbie Kerr. Mark Mayle in 4th ahead of Doornbos and Blair.
Well, Ben, what do you think of this new track here at Rockingham?
Martin, I was at the ASCAR meeting and I'm really excited about the thought of real oval racing here. And now we've also seen the road course in action, and I'm sure it's going to be a popular place to race and for the public to watch. The view is unparalleled in British motor racing. The racetrack itself is very successful, but they will have to do something about the chicane onto the road course.
Well, we spoke to David Grace, the chief executive, after the meeting. He seemed happy with it.
I think it's a great corner. It's quick, it produces huge overtaking opportunity after it, and I've never yet met a driver yet, and I'm one of them that knows the perfect circuit. I think we've got to do a little bit of work on the pit lane exit to get that safer, and I think we've got to look a little bit on the curbs of that chicane, but basically I don't want to spoil what is a great racer's corner.
I'd have to agree with David that the curbs need looking at. I don't think they'll be able to keep them the same as they are at the moment. And Ben Collins, who took off here, said it was the most frightening thing that had ever happened to him in a racing car. And he's raced Indy lights on ovals in the States, so he's no mug.
So congratulations to Carlin Motorsport and Takuma Sato for mastering the intricacies of Rockingham and bringing home a double victory. Now time to see what the GT drivers made of it. But we'll start by taking a quick look back at round 5 from Croft.
Rockingham saw the welcome return to the GT class of the Mike Haynes Lotus, driven by Piers Johnson and regular pilot Chris Ellis.
It's nice to see you here.
It is good to be back. Bit of a culture shock being out there for the first time and trying to qualify the car, but still in one piece.
And a long time since you were last out racing.
Sorry?
A long time since you were last out racing.
We was racing last weekend in another championship, which we won't talk about, but yeah, glad to be back.
Tim Harvey had missed the pre-race test session, and that spoiled his chances of a 6th consecutive pole, but the black car was out front. The black TBR Speed 12, that is, dominant in both sessions.
I made a bit of a mistake, so maybe I can get a bit more out of the car, but yeah, I mean, it's delight for the lads, really. I mean, TBR have just worked so hard.
The GTO class was boosted by the return of the Terry Reimer Porsche.
Great to be here at Rockingham for the first time. It's awesome to learn a new circuit, which an old guy like me is it's quite new.
The two Eclipse Marcuses also returned, but Shane Bland was in trouble with overheating. Near the end of the session, Martin Shorts was fastest in his new Tuscan R. Could Kelvin Burt in the Par Porsche reply in the last few minutes?
If Kelvin feels in the right mood, you never know, we might be able to.
If he's in the right mood?
Well, sometimes the driver's in a good form, on good form, and we're not sure. Today's just made a couple of little mistakes. So now we need him to go out there and do a really good last couple of laps.
He didn't quite manage it, and Martin Shorts held on by a fifth of a second.
Came in after the 3 or 4 laps and saw the times and just played with the pressures and played with the dampers and went out again, and there it was, bingo. So I'm really over the moon for myself and TVR and all our sponsors. Just really good.
Maiden pole in GT for the TVR, ahead of the Lister, second for the 5th time, with the Viper demoted to 3rd.
In GTO, the new Tuscan R was on pole, whilst the older Tuscan R, which had been on pole at Croft, was down in 7th. Find out how they get on after the break.
Welcome back to Motorsport on 4 and the first GT race on this exciting new circuit. Now it's a rolling start for these cars, and for the first lap only they're going to be using the second rank corner. After that they're going to be going through the narrow chicane and onto the pit road exit. It's going to be exciting, and Martin and Ben are watching.
Echoes of the Daytona 24-hour race coming to the UK now as we get the race underway.
Michael Caine has the jump in the TVR, a battle for second, won by the Lister, the Viper in 3rd, Matt Tirner across the nose of Rob Barth in the GTO battle right behind. Wilson goes inside the Lister, and look at this, the big cars are on the brakes early, and the GTO cars, Ben, don't have to slow down, they dive down the inside, and one of them should have 3rd place unless they push each other off, but Michael Caine avoiding that 4-wide confusion for second. Oh, very cold tyres, very little grip, he just holds on. Rob Wilson second, and the Par Motorsport car goes through into 3rd place, and that's Kelvin Burt.
On board now with Gavin Pickering in the Certec Porsche. He's been passed by a couple of cars. He's behind Tim Sugden, and ahead of him is Adam Simmons.
Well, this is going to be a very, very fraught opening lap or two until tyre temperatures come up. Of course, the track is very cold. Look how far down the Lotus has been pushed. On board with Piers Johnson behind the 2nd Tuscan R. Well, that was the 7th of the GTO cars away from the start line.
You can see that the car's just missing the apex a little bit, still slippery on this opening lap. The leaders go through the hairpin that takes them back onto the oval, and we've got some great battles, and that Lister has dropped down a bit, hasn't it? That's got some work to do now to catch our race leader Michael Caine.
Lock up from Andrew Davis, outbraking himself and hitting a cone. Through goes the Ferrari of Marco Attard, and that's one of the Lotuses spinning out there as well as they came up onto the banking. Further up through the chicane, Turner, Valve and Sugden. Oh, and look at that. That was David Jones losing it. Clumps Shane Bland. Here on board with Piers Johnson, the Lotus. Bland right in front of him. And that would have held Piers up a little bit.
Coming down towards the hairpin now, and there's a couple of cars all together with him. And in fact, I think, yeah, he's just been passed once again by Bland as they came through the left-hander.
Well, there is Sugden leading Marcus Simmons. Gavin Pickering keeping a watching brief. We ride on board with him. Makes the apex nicely through these two little fast flicks. And then down to this long left-hander. Runs out wide, looking for that 2nd apex. Takes it neatly. He's being really aggressive, chasing hard there. The lead GTO car still Kelvin Burt. And Rob Barth chasing in the Tuscan R that claimed pole position. Maybe after being slightly off the boil in qualifying, Kelvin is fired up for the race. Dave Warnock in the Lister Storm, unable to catch those guys. They've got speed, of course, on the banking, but all this twisty stuff plays into the hands of the lighter GTO cars.
On board with Piers Johnson, Shane Bland having a little look at getting down the inside of Curtis Hales in the Viper, but it didn't quite come off, although they've both gone wide onto the dirt. Look at that.
Real Fulham a leader there. The Lotus following in their wheel tracks took the same line off as well. On the banking with Gavin Pickering. Let's see if he can draft up behind the Porsche ahead and make a move down the inside. Well, he's come out of the slipstream very early. Down the inside on a very tight line. He must have that one, but he's damaged the car. He really gave the cones and the curbing there a big thump.
If you look on the dashboard, there's a light flashing now that wasn't flashing before, so some damage has been done to this car, no doubt about it. In fact, look, he's slowed right down and he's pulling off to the side of the track. Team boss, who's co-driving Rob Sherl, is in the pit lane with Amanda.
Rob, what happened?
I don't know, I thought he was getting a bit too quick into this first corner, and I saw a cloud of dust, and he got on the radio and said it's over.
Let's take another look. Sean Balfe went through and clipped the cone, left it there, and here comes Pickering and just demolishes the right front of the heavy base of that cone.
Looks like Sean Balfe is paying the cost of hitting that cone as well. Right front puncture. Not such a big cost, of course, as Gavin Pickering. He's still in the race, at least at this stage. Let's hope there's no knock-on damage to the front suspension or the brakes.
Quick change of that right front, but of course this is really damaging their prospects. Mark Sumter waiting on pit wall to take this car over as they inspect the damage.
Well, that's vital just to make sure there's no signs of anything else breaking in the car. Kelvin Burt under pressure from Dave Warnock. This is for third place overall. Don't forget the speed 12 and the Lister way ahead of this battle. Warnock's got the speed, but can he get it done under braking? Yes, in the end he does. No cone there now if anybody goes off, so that'll make that corner a little safer.
Up front it is Michael Caine in the TVR, just lapping some of the back markers now. No problems for him here. Andrew Davis going a little slowly though.
Well, it looks as though Andrew's got a bit of a problem in his Marcus Mantis. Doesn't seem to be revving properly.
Doesn't seem to be changing gear at all. Look at that, he can't get a gear. It's scrunching and grinding away. Oh dear, I think he's pulling off at the side now. Or is he? I don't know quite what he's doing. Andrew has stopped now.
Well, at least he'll be out of everyone's way. Tim Sugden chasing Matt Tirner and ahead of Rob Barth here. GTO pole-sitting Tuscan Art dropping down the class order. The slower Marcus is that of David Dove. And still Tim Sugden looking for a way past. Martin Short there on the pit wall, keeping an eye on the times. I wonder if he's got any inkling as to why the Tuscan Art doesn't seem to be quite so close in the race. And Sugden's got through. So he's got Turner right behind and then Rob Barth as they come up onto the banking. Now let's see who's got the grunt. Barth takes a nice tight line up onto the banking. Well, that won't be great for exit speed, but he certainly feels that the Tuscan has got plenty of grunt, and I don't think he's that wrong. Right down on the painted white line, he passes the Porsche and starts to march back up the field.
And here comes Michael Caine, still getting past some of the slower cars. That's out of the hairpin that brings them back onto the banking, and the speed really builds up. Let's just listen a moment through turn number 4. Well, you could hear him feathering the throttle through the turn and then getting hard on the power. They're up to about 170 miles an hour before they get onto the brakes again for this chicane.
Well, he's got a 5-second lead now over Rob Wilson. Dave Warnock's 25 seconds further back in third place. Then Kelvin Burt and Sugden leading the GTO class in their Porsches, with Rob Barth next up in the TVR. Marco Attard in the Ferrari 360 Modena, passing the Ultima. That's Ed Sharp, and right behind Rob Wilson, second place, the Viper, looking for a way through, but they'll have to be careful not to get embroiled in that battle. The Ultima back in front. Yeah, good little tussle going on here. Rob Wilson won't be enjoying it too much because there's no clear way through. Let's ride with him.
Coming through the fast infield chicane here. I wonder if he's going to be able to get up the inside. Well, no, because the Ferrari's taken that ground, so Rob Wilson still in trouble. Rob Barth brings the Tuscan R into the pits.
Martin Short ready to take over for the second portion of the race. The car in 6th place, third in GTO. Kelvin Burt and Tim Sugden first and second as this car came in. But a first stop for the TVR. That gives Martin Short the best chance of building up some advantage as the others slow and come into the pits. Very long pit lane here, all the way down the front stretch, and in comes Rob Wilson from second place to hand over to Tim Harvey. And Amanda's down in the TVR pit. Let's hear from Rob Barth.
Well, Rob, how was it?
I got kind of boxed in at the first corner. I had to take a shortcut across the Northamptonshire countryside. And I think we damaged something on the front. The car's understeering a little bit, but Martin's out in clear air now, so I have to see what he can do.
Adam Simmons in the Harlow Porsche coming in to hand over to Terry Reimer. Looks like they're all coming in now, thick and fast. One in, all in. Chris Ellis about to leave in the Lotus. He came in from 10th place overall, 4th in the GT class. Out alongside Reimer, but he had a bit of a head of steam there. This is like leaving a NASCAR pit lane. Dave Warnock in second place, 28 seconds down on the TVR, 30 seconds up on the Viper though, because the lead 2 cars yet to change. Jamie Campbell-Walter overseeing things as Mike Jordan waits in the Lister pit. Michael Caine yet to stop as well. So So he continues to lead and build up his advantage.
Now here comes Dave Warnock bringing the Lister into the pits. They need a good stop here. They've moved up. Remember, they didn't get a very good start. Kelvin Burt, meanwhile, he's still out there, 42 seconds down on Kane in second place now, and 25 seconds ahead of Tim Sugden.
Well, he has really opened up that GTO class battle, sparkling in the race, if not in qualifying. Amanda, meanwhile, down in the Lister pit. Let's hear from Dave Warnock.
No, I got mixed up on the first lap with the GTO cars, and if I hadn't backed off, there would have been a big accident there, so I backed off. Unfortunately, that meant I had to get past them again, and once I'd done that, unfortunately, it allowed the other two to stretch their legs.
Bobby Burden-Rowe waits for the leader to come to a halt. Michael Caine will bail out of the TVR Speed 12. Now, the TVR team haven't always been the fastest pit stop changes. That's normally been the Listers, but they're squeezing into that tiny cockpit a lot quicker now.
The pressure's on. They haven't won a race yet this year, the TVR crew, and they are looking at this one as a real opportunity. They get out safely, but coming around the banking, Tim Harvey, can he now catch Bobby Burden-Rowe?
Well, a very long, very slow exit to the pit lane, but Harvey is behind him as Bobby Burden-Rowe rejoins the track. The Harlow Motorsport car just in front. Bobby, of course, still on warm tyres. There's no tyre change here. But Tim Harvey absolutely flying through the chicane off the banking and coming down to the same hairpin where we just saw the TVR. Now, TVR have led twice this year. Twice they've had a big advantage ruled out by a safety car. They'll be praying there's no such incident here to allow the Viper to close.
On board now with Charlotte Osborne in the Marcos. She's passed by the GT Lotus and she's chasing after the Shane Bland Marcos. That's actually being driven now by Darren Malkin. She's got a good run on him as they come down towards that chicane off the front stretch, and she seems to have got past safely here, down over the curbs, and Charlotte Osborne takes the place from Darren Malkin.
Well, that was a great shot of a classic move on the banking there. Marino Franchitti now aboard the GTO lead car. He's taken over from Kelvin Burt. Another nice slick pit stop, very well drilled stuff by the Palm Motorsport crew.
Oh, Charlotte Osborne's in trouble. Look, the Marcos, which was going so well a moment ago, is going very slowly. And that's very disappointing indeed. Remember, this was the car that Andrew Davis was driving earlier on. Now, earlier on, this is a replay of what happened. There was a clash when David Dove made contact with that car as well. That could have caused some damage. So all sorts of problems, and Charlotte Osborne now away from the car.
Yeah, legging it for the safety of the other side of the concrete wall. The safety car is out, and that is a tough break for the TVR Speed 12 crew. Martin Short and the others behind will be waved by until the race leader is right behind, ready for the restart. Now Amanda's down with Kelvin Burt.
We've not really had a performance advantage this weekend, so I'm really pleased with that. They all tripped over each other in the first corner, and I snuck through and cleared off, and it was magic.
Charlotte's car being dragged away then, stationary off the racing line, but not something you want on the high-speed banking. Well, there's the race order. Bobby Burden-Rowe not immediately followed by Tim Harvey, though. A slower GTO car. It's the Marcus of Bill Tully between them. And look at the difference that made, because Harvey is not allowed to pass before he takes the green flag. So Bobby Burden-Rowe gets a big advantage, and all right ahead of Mike Jordan in the Lister. There's nearly a GTO coming together, and that holds him up as well. Further back, fourth place in GT, Chris Ellis.
Yes, they're running reliably, but they are a lap down, and that's a little slower than we would have expected. They were running much faster than this last year.
Well, there is the Lotus in the middle of that little battle, and perhaps that's a sign of how fast the front-running cars have improved. Now, the Lister still trying to get past Ed Horner's Porsche on this tight, twisty infield section. The Porsche is lighter, accelerates just as well, handles better, and brakes just as well. Marino Franchitti leading GTO.
Yes, he's in a gaggle of his rivals, but he's a lap ahead of those rivals. Meanwhile, passing Terry Rymer with Martin Short right behind.
Well, it's wheel-to-wheel stuff in this tight infield section, but Bobby Burden-Rowe leaving huge stripes there as he powers up the TVR through the tight corners. And the Viper and the Lister now swapping places as Mike Jordan lunges down the inside. Jamie Campbell-Walter there, watching the action on the monitors. What's going on? He says, we can't see. That's my boy. Oh, look, the Viper coming back. Tim Harvey never takes no for an answer. This is great stuff, and what's more, it's great for Bobby Rowe as these two squabble. They're slower than the TVR out front.
The spectators are lapping this up. Mike Jordan gets back to the inside on that final hairpin, and look at the view from on board Tim Harvey's car. He comes to the inside, they're up onto the banking, flat out, now just feather the throttle a little bit for turn 4, and Harvey goes ahead again. And as I say, the spectators at Rockingham are getting the view of this all the way around the track.
Epic stuff there. Harvey comes up wide onto the outside line, but down the inside, Mike Jordan outbraking him. Woof, right across his nose, barely a hair's breadth between them. Marvellous racing, and I'm sure it's not over yet. Jordan holds the inside line. Harvey goes out wide as they come down to the hairpin. In goes Jordan. Harvey right behind him in the Viper, and they're keeping it neat and tidy, not sliding and not damaging the tyres either. But Bobby Rowe easing away as the GTO Viper is in big trouble.
That's Ben Devlin. That's teammate car to Tim Harvey, but they run in the GTO class, smoking heavily, and that looks like a damaged engine for sure, but he's trying to get to the finish. He wants to get 7th place.
Well, he really should be heading for the pits because he's probably pouring oil out of that exhaust, and there is the Tuscan R. That's Martin Short, second in the GTO.
Dear oh dear, disappointment indeed for the TVR crew, and of course Bobby Rowe in another of the TVRs looking for his first win of the season in this car. He's hoping against hope that something doesn't go wrong for them now. They've had all their problems earlier this year. Surely he's going to be able to hold on.
Well, he is going very strong indeed as Martin Short's car gets pushed down the pit entry road. That's a very long push for those marshals. And they've had their tough times, the TVR Speed 12 crew, but look, the battle behind still continues. Once more, Jordan in second place here at the chicane. Harvey, though, much faster off the banking. Look at this. He's going to be forced around the outside. Mike Jordan holds the inside line down to the hairpin. Jordan late on the brakes, very late indeed. He's slammed wide. And Harvey up the inside. Oh, yes, a little bit of contact there, I think. Harvey couldn't help it. Jordan on the gravel there as he gets a little bit out of shape on the exit. These men both trying so hard. Jordan desperately late on the brakes there, but Harvey squeezes through anyway. Wow, Ben, fantastic stuff.
This is great racing from these two very experienced drivers. You're looking at Marino Franchitti, our GTO class leader, very comfortably. And meanwhile, Bobby Rowe is in sight of victory. He's coming up onto the banking for the final time now.
So Rowe with just the turn 4 here to go as he sweeps down and will come up nice and high above the GTO markers ahead of him again, lifting through that final corner to keep it all in shape. But the checkered flag, it's relief and jubilation for the crew as they win. The Harvey Viper in second place after that battle, and almost a lap ahead of the opposition. It's victory for the Porsche in GTO. Franchitti and Burt 4th place overall ahead of the other TVR, which was in 7th on the grid. Matt Tirner and Ed Horner in 6th place. But it was a great day for Michael Caine and for Bobby Rowe, who won.
For some stupid reason, I thought the end of the race was quite a lot earlier, and I actually backed off through turn 4 once. Big time, and I thought, oh my God, I thought that was it. So in future, I'm going to listen to and wait for the radio to tell me last lap.
And Martin was driving really well. I was having to be really aggressive with traffic. Ben Devlin was being a bit of an idiot, so I had to bang him out of the way a bit. But, you know, if he wants to play like that, if I've ever got to let him pass, then he'll find it the same. But yeah, the team did a fantastic job. Kelvin did a great first stint. And yeah, just great.
Just short of the halfway mark in the championship and the TVR campaign back on track, but only 3 points separate the Lister and Viper crews.
Kelvin Burt and Marino Franchitti continue to dominate in the GTO class, ahead of a gaggle of Porsches and the TVR of Stanton and Hyde.
So the end of another Powertour weekend from the brand new circuit on the calendar, Rockingham. Now, Tim, what do you think of this circuit for single-seaters?
Well, we've actually seen some good racing, and I know it's been a new thing for the drivers. Not all of it pleasant. Anthony Davidson had a bit of a moment exiting the chicane off the banking, and maybe that needs to be looked at from a safety point of view. But overall, I think they've enjoyed some good racing.
And Michael, what's it like for GTs?
Well, I'd have to say it's brilliant, as it's the first TVR win, and I know Tim would congratulate us on that deeply. So, yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for that. But no, I mean, as far as GT cars is concerned, yeah, it was great, and I'm sure the track and the venue will just get better and better as it just sort of gets finished.
Well, congratulations on your maiden victory. The next stop for Powertour is another new circuit on the calendar. It's Castle Combe, and you can see all the action there in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
More motorsport next Saturday at the earlier time of 5 to 11. For the latest motorsport news and details of Channel 4's coverage, log on to 4car.co.uk. Next